You got to say something about that, Jesse, because you struck first and got the post out there.
We got it rolling. When you and I have been working on this project for a few months now.
Feels like half a year.
Yeah. And it feels like we could spend 2 years on it. But you gave me the permission to go first. Because you and I were trying to coordinate who's going to release when, and then he's like, dude, just go ahead and release it if you're ready. I was like, okay, let's do that. Launched it on the Learnings and Missteps podcast. Asked Joe for permission, right? Like, hey, man, we're doing this thing about your book. Are you okay with it?
It's
and
like,
he was super cool.
Joe, we recorded 7 episodes. Are you cool with us?
Yep. That's Felipe and I again going at it. This time you're on Calabo session number 7, which of course means there's 6 previous Calabo sessions. And this wraps up the Lean Builder. And this conversation touches on PPC, percent plan complete. And for all my people out there that know me, that have been around me preaching, screaming, yelling, hollering about PPC, you already know what's going to be coming. For the rest of the L&M family, the first timers, I get a little bit passionate about it. You know, there's been some ideas out there around incentivizing PPC, and I've been able to witness how that corrupts the people's behavior. Now, I've also been able to experience the restorative effects of the last planner system on people's lives, and Felipe and I dive into that. It's a little mysterious and fancy, but it's real. And then we talk about some Jedi magic. The Force must be strong with those of us that are practicing the last planner system. I want to remind y'all that we do have a Patreon account, and the purpose of the Patreon account is to help us remain commercial free, except for me and my commercials. We really appreciate all the support that y'all have given us in maintaining our standard Learnings and Missteps episodes, where we're interviewing construction professionals and their journey through a career in the construction industry. And, you know, we drop a little hint of a future Calabo session. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is in the oven. And my co-host on that Calabo session is not going to be Felipe. We're going to bring the smiles. We're going to bring the energy. And it's going to be some thought-provoking stuff on how does Lean apply outside of the workspace? Is it even applicable in the personal relationship space? Ooh, keep your eye out for that. I know you're ready. You're ready for it. So here comes the good stuff. Boom.
I got to say, Jesse, I am in awe of your TikTok game. I am serious, man. You just do it. Like, no excuses. Just make it happen. Like, it's consistent. It's on point. Like when you did the one with Keon's comment, I love that, man. You inspired me. I did a TikTok last night just to keep pace with you.
Well, thank you, man. That is encouraging. I am no longer embarrassed of my TikTok game. So thank you.
Never be embarrassed of your TikTok game, Jesse. And I mean, you saw Jason. He's in a public restaurant, and he's about to record a podcast on earbuds and just his webcam, and it's going to be fine.
One thing that maybe I know I need to drive home for the audience, because I think in our knowledge and the years of experience, we kind of forget the beginner level.
Yeah,
right? We're talking, and so the context, like it's all about experimentation,
right?
But the main contributor to getting to that point of experimentation for continuous improvement is this need to be perfect. So people get caught up in designing the perfect experiment, and then they never do a damn thing.
Yeah.
Just do something. Start where you're at. Use what you got. Start right now.
I was having a conversation earlier today, Jesse, and they were comparing themselves to 2 people, and they were saying, like, as compared to so-and-so, I can't even start this. And I was like, what? Why can't you start it? I was like, you need to start it. And when you start it, it's not going to be that good. And that's okay. Just give yourself some permission, some leeway to grow. Yeah.
Listen to episode 0, and you will see You will see. I gave myself all kinds of permission to grow. Episode 0 of the podcast. It's rough, man. The audio's horrible, but hell with
Confirmed.
it. I gotta let it hang out.
Confirmed. But Jesse, the storytelling and what was discussed in episode 0 is what makes people hold on and listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, my first episode, I mean, it's like, ugh. I watched it, and I say ugh on myself, not Josh.
Right,
Josh was awesome on my show. Like, he was perfect, and it was good. What kept people coming back and why there was a show 2 was because of the content. Content reigns supreme. Today, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us, we're covering chapter 7 from The Lean Builder. I got to say, Jesse, for all the people listening and are going to stick with us through the whole thing, shout out to Joe and Keon supporting us on LinkedIn and encouraging this endeavor. I mean, that was just lovely. You got to say something about that, Jesse, because you struck first and got the post out there.
We got it rolling. I mean, you and I have been working on this project for a few months now.
Feels like half a year.
Yeah. And it feels like we could spend 2 years on it. But you gave me the permission to go first, right? Because you and I were trying to coordinate who's going to release when, and then he's like, "Dude, just go ahead and release it if you're ready." I was like, "Okay, let's do that." Launched it on the Learnings and Missteps podcast. Asked Joe for permission, right? Like, "Hey, man, we're doing this thing about your book. Are you okay with it?"
It's like,
he was super cool.
Joe, we recorded 7 episodes. Are you cool with us?
Exactly. Maybe we should talk to them. And man, like the response from Keon first and then Joe, like they appreciated it. It was clear that they listened, like they took it all in, and then they posted on their stuff, right? Their personal accounts and on the Lean Builder account. Like for me, that is pretty damn monumental. It goes to show when we're all working towards a shared goal, the value that you can add is you just have no idea what it is until you go out there and just try it, just experiment it. And people that are like-minded will appreciate it. And so that was a big hurdle for me to see them receive it and then share, right? Project it out to their network. Right. Hey, check out the Learnings and Missteps podcast and check out their review of the thing about all the food, right? Felipe's comments about there's so much damn food in chapter 1, and it's very meaningful. It was moving and very meaningful.
It was really lovely. And Jesse organized a call with Joe, and Joe was like, "You guys, would it be cool if I come on the last chapter and like join you?" And we were like, "Yes." Mm-hmm. That's gonna be awesome.
And he's threatening to bring Keon, so we'll see.
Yeah, I got my fingers crossed for Keon to show up. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah,
I've been at a couple webinars with the two of them. They're a bundle of joy. Two of them together. Are we still sitting where we are today in time, ladies and gentlemen? We have not recorded said episode yet with Joe and Keon. We're just gonna start saying the Joe and Keon show, the one that closes it down. The final episode. It'll be chapter 8 when we bring Joe and Keon in. I can't believe, Jesse, I'm getting so sad that it's actually going to come to an end.
Well, I have an idea, depending on the feedback for the people we are serving. I have an idea for a follow-up.
Oh, I like this.
I've got to get permission, but a very close friend, very dear friend to me, had wrote it's titled Lean Love.
Okay.
And it's just 5 little sheets, and it's 5S'ing for relationships, personal relationships. So I got to get her permission first. But man, let me tell you, it is deep, serious content. So I'd like to propose that as a follow-on to this.
I love that.
Schedules permitting, permission permitting, and again, our client, like the people out there. We may have another round of this stuff, but we need to know from you if you want another round of it.
I mean, we could do it just for Joe and Keon, for their entertainment, because they were royally entertained.
Absolutely.
Check out my YouTube channel. I did a video on their 2 reactions to Jesse's post on LinkedIn, so it's beautiful.
Nice. I will check it out. I haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah. It's going to go on YouTube soon, but it's on TikTok right now. I'll get it on YouTube and I'll put it on LinkedIn.
Oh, I saw it on TikTok. I saw that one. Beautiful. Good. I got the preview because I'm on the in crowd.
Cool. Yeah. So chapter 7, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most controversial chapters of the entire part of critical path method scheduling and last planner hate, or vice versa, depending on where you're sitting in a conference room, what side of the table you're on. It could just be all hate all around, yeah. But PPC, the most missed acronym, probably misspoken even more than the EBFC show. It stands for percent plan complete. If you watch my eyes on the replay of the video, even I had to put my eyes on paper to make sure I didn't reverse the order of the words. Because some people even say percent promises complete. You've heard that, right?
I have heard that.
What do you say, Jesse?
Here's what I say. I say whatever arrangement of the damn words helps the person I'm serving use it to their benefit, I'm going to let them use it. And once they start experiencing value from it, then we'll make the correction to the appropriate definition. How's that?
I took 2 swigs. I drank to that, man. I like that.
Yeah, I'm not going to get caught up on percent plan percent, like, call it what you need to call it, man. I just want to help you figure out how to make your day easier by using it. And then we'll come back and do some housekeeping. But again, that's my style, Felipe. Quick and dirty, baby. Let's get this ball rolling.
Quick and dirty. Let's go, man. Jump me in. Where are we going in the book?
So first page. The first time I read this, I was like, all right, now we're getting to like real construction. It says, morning sunshine. Alan greeted Sam as he opened the door. And it says, ready to thump these stripers today. But when I first read it, yeah. I read strippers. And I'm like, hold on. Like, oh no, they're going fishing. That's awesome. I just thought we were going to go down like my path in the industry.
Oh, I thought you were about to say that you were going to go down the pole.
Yes. Get the pole out, baby. Got to make some money.
My goodness. For people, Jesse and I have been awake for a long time today. So
our energy is like up here.
It's going to be loose. Out. Yeah, it's going to be loose this whole show. I had to look it up too. I was like, I'm sure it's some kind of fish.
Yes.
Thank goodness that you turn the page and it's a picture of them in the car. And I was like, okay. When you're just looking at here in chapter 7 we're almost to the end of the book. Mm-hmm. The illustrator is drawing them younger. You're looking at all the pictures. They're just getting younger as time goes on.
You know what it is? It's the restorative benefits of practicing the last planner, that their stress has dissipated so much that their youth is coming back to their face.
Oh, I like that, Jesse. It's like my hair. Well, the more last planner I do, the blacker my hair can become, and the more it can grow back in and not be so Count Dracula.
Because they're sleeping more, they're eating better, they're spending time with their loved ones. Like their life is becoming more stable. Whole life.
The whole thing.
That's why. That's exactly what that picture is intended to communicate.
I love that.
That's what they meant.
For people reading along with us as we go, we're on page 146 in the book. Powerful illustrator here in the Lean Builder, keeping it real. Thank you for that. Yeah, Jesse, you're totally right, man. They're not drinking as much coffee. Still drinking the coffee, but not as much.
Of course. Yep.
They're laughing. This is like one of the first times in the book that I think that they're laughing together, which is a beautiful thing.
Right? They're on their way to go fishing. Like, come on. What more could you ask for? So I jumped right through that, those first few pages and ended up on page 148 where Alan's talking about the first statement on the first full paragraph. The craftsmen aren't what they once were either.
Ooh.
And yeah.
Ooh, we gotta pause on that one.
Oh man,
this is where
conversation.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a repeated conversation. I shut somebody down the other day talking in Clubhouse because they made almost this exact same comment, And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Looking at the people in the room who are here right now, there isn't a tradesperson in the room to defend themselves for this accusation. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable with you making that statement. And the person who was making the statement was the general contractor. And I said, could it be, Mr. General Contractor, that on your site where you're having this bad experience, you're not setting up the teams for success? But go ahead, Jesse.
That's part of the point. Here's the thing. The human nature, like the human side of me, is it's very easy for me to blame the general contractor that they didn't set the project up for success. The reality is we all play into it, right? We got this big old poo-poo sandwich, and we all need to take our bite out of it. Now, but the comment of, they don't make them like they used to, I feel like that conversation has been happening for centuries. Right? You can take that to generational conversation, right? This generation is different. And there's we find any excuse to deflect ownership. Now, this one specifically talking about, the trades, they're just not the same, and the quality and the care and the pride and all this stuff. I don't buy it. I can't buy it because I can have the same argument. Superintendents and project managers and engineers were way better back in the day. So we're referencing this point of time that we never really experienced.
Oh.
And if we did experience it, when we were living it, our knowledge base was much less. Our wherewithal and self-awareness was underdeveloped. So your point of reference is an immature point of reference. So how do you validate the accuracy and say they were better, things were better, plans were better in a time that you did not experience? And maybe you can. And is it even worth validating? How about we just focus our energy and change the situation that we're living right now? What are you going to do to make it better? Take some ownership and stop deflecting and blaming it on the trades. And there's a lot of conversation within our industry about appreciation for the professionals that are in our industry, the men and women that do the actual value creation, the tradesmen, the tradeswomen, the craft workers out there. I think generally in our industry, we'll all say that it's inappropriate. We need to appreciate them better. And then the next day in a meeting, the same people are going to say, well, the trades just ain't like what they used to be. So it's like, come on, make up your mind. Which team are you on? And that's the whole purpose for our podcast, right? To change the image of careers in the trades. Because we all need a little dose of honesty, and I'm happy to bring it.
And when Jesse says trades, I'll add in and the entire supply chain, because we're in the same thing too. Like you have a special focus on the trades, and your audience definitely resonates in that direction. And I want to go bigger. Let's reach up and down. I want to have those people, Jesse, be consistent. Let's recognize that nostalgia is always going to be looked at with like some endearment, because your memory fades over time too. You forget that in the moment. I look back, Jesse, on a job where we got sued 6 ways from Sunday, and I look at it with nostalgia. And I was even telling somebody the other day, it's like, if you've never been on a hard bid and been sued, you haven't lived yet in construction. And I said it with the straight face, and they're like, man, you are just twisted. I said, no, like now it's been, it's enough time has passed that all the grind of the moment, I can't remember that anymore. I just can't remember. And it just seems like, well, what a great project. That team was so close together. Those that survived and didn't get fired or quit, the strong that made it, or just the people that like the abuse. But that idea of nostalgia is like such a human thing. And like you're saying, Jesse, we don't have a way to measure and gauge, like, is it better? If I look at older buildings, some buildings stand the test of time and some don't. It's a total mix. I mean, you can't say that like 50 years ago it was better. There are buildings that didn't survive 50 years ago right now. They didn't make it. right? We had an earthquake in the Midwest when I was in high school that had never had an earthquake before, ever. An entire town was ruined. Was it better? I mean, they should have known that there was going to be an earthquake there. They were on a fault line. How did they not know? Yep. It's not always better in the past, people.
You got it.
And I love history too. So get some. Nostalgia freaks.
Yeah, you're right. It's easy to filter out all the pain when we look back. And I'll just leave it at that.
But I think one thing to say, and whether you're listening and you're in the union trade or you're in a non-union trade, open shop trade, either way, you're going to have some type of apprenticeship and learning on the job. And, even as true for project managers and people going on the management side, you're going to have some on the job learning as well. And depending on your attitude towards learning, you could end up becoming very good and proficient and become a subject matter expert, or just to be, a full on, master craftsperson with all of the skills and creativity and talent, or you can just be somebody that's doing a job and you're just going to, get by. So Jesse and I, we tend to be a little further away from the just get by. I mean, hence us waking up at, 0:30 to be with y'all, because we love y'all and we love the comments you give us. So just keep that in mind. No trade bashing.
You got it. No trade bashing, and also my commitment is to minimize my GC bashing. Except I'm method acting while we're doing this book. I'll pretend I don't really hate them.
Yeah, your last time I checked, your paycheck is a GC paycheck.
Yeah. So I'm officially on the GC side. I mean, we're all human beings.
We are.
And when we learn how to celebrate that, the industry will change.
Absolutely.
And I feel like we're headed in that direction. We got a lot of amazing people putting a lot of energy towards making that happen. Case in point, Miss Jennifer Lacey. Talk about a world changer. She got it going on. And we'll get there.
We have to change her nickname to Smiley. And it's not just because I'm seeing the big giant smile over your shoulder. For those of you watching the video, Jesse's got a big old Jesse loves you and a smile over his shoulder. So check out the video. It's awesome.
It is awesome. On the next page, page 149, as I read through it, it triggered this question. So here's a question for you, Felipe. When you're coaching individuals or teams, what is your comfort? I guess it's two-phase question. What is your comfort level with going to storytelling, A, and then B, how do you ensure that it's going to be received by the audience?
That's a great question, Jesse. So as default, I don't go storytelling or straight to the answer as a default. I only can say this, ladies and gentlemen, because I have done it the wrong way so many times. There was a slew of times, Jesse, where I never told a story, and I even had checklists, and I would give people. There was one time, Jesse, and this happened a couple of years ago, and bless his heart, poor Nate, I went on after him for not having read this checklist that I had provided him 25 times. Oh. And I just kept every other sentence. I was like, and this thing is here. As you'll notice in the checklist, 3 inches from the left margin, Nate. And I just was and then I'd say a couple more things, and I'd say, as you would see, if you flip over the checklist to the second page, Nate, that question you have is right there at the top of the page too. And I just went on, and we laughed about it afterwards, but that was a total non-respect for people move on my part. And so that was wrong. That's too extreme. And on the other extreme edge, somebody asked me yesterday how I got into doing what I do now. And I went all the way back to high school and told the story. And then the person interrupted me when I was only at college.
Right.
And then they're
I got an hour.
They're like, Felipe, but you're over 40. I ain't got time to hear how you got to here. And so that was just yesterday, Jesse. So I went to the extreme other side. I got to somewhere balance when it's been done right. When I'm coaching in a coaching session, if we're in it, if we're in the throes of something, if we're doing a job walk and we're trying to find flow, I may stop and tell a story that helps to bring a point to life. But I won't start with the story. Now, if we're in a classroom setting, I will intentionally have some stories to give people an example only for this reason, Jesse. I need them to be able to see themselves in it. So I was talking to a person in your neck of the woods yesterday in Tejas, and they were all the way from Houston. And they're actually not originally from Houston. They're from West Texas, but for this story, they're from Houston. They're Houston, because Houstonian sounds cooler than a West Texan. I don't know. I mean, are you technically West Texas?
South Texas, baby.
Okay, South Texas. All right, now I know San Antonio, South Texas, double S it. So this particular person had asked me a question about what's it going to be like to have you come in and facilitate a meeting. So for that question, in this coaching conversation, I had to give a story. And I just gave a short story relating to the project that I knew they had some experience with. And I used real people's names. And it's a real story. I told a real story short, like within 2 minutes. And that was just to set a little bit of background. And then I made sure that as I was ending my little 2-minute spiel, I asked a question. How do you see starting? What do you think is the first thing we should do? And then other questions like that. And I just noticed that my name is behind your head, which is freaking awesome. I like how Felipe is just like right above your hair. I just caught that.
That is what I'm aspiring to.
Well, I don't know why I'm at the bottom of the list. Ladies and gentlemen, there are people above me. And then Jesse, and that's the perfect thing. I'll mix in some humor in all of my stories now. And I find that when I do that, I'm being more natural. Like, yeah, I know something, but I want to make sure I'm connecting with them. So I'll pause, I'll wait, and I don't push the checklist as hard anymore. How about you?
It's pretty similar to you, and to say it maybe in such a way that somebody can take it and apply it in their coaching. I think of it in terms of a sliding scale.
Okay.
Right on the far right hand side, it's coaching. Right, I'm asking questions to help the individual examine their thinking. I'm asking questions to help them discover the answer or the solution or the countermeasure, whatever we want to call it. It's on the far right. On the far left of the scale, based on the individual's understanding and capabilities, I may tell them what to do. I may have to give them the checklist and say, do it this way in this order, because their knowledge base is thin.
Right.
And in between there's space for some storytelling. And usually I'll introduce the storytelling by asking permission. And I think Alan did that in this case, right? Like, can I tell you a story real quick? And I'll ask, is it okay if I give you a story? Because I've discovered that some people, they don't want a story. They just want the facts.
Right.
Okay, great. And some people are like, stop with the damn facts, man. Can you put it in context for what it means to me? Okay, I could do that. And to your point earlier, when I started doing this kind of coaching, culture change management work, I had the checklist too. And this is what you need to do. And this is how you're supposed to do it. And this is what you failed to do. Like, I did so little listening. It was horrible. And then when I discovered like this humble inquiry methodology, then that's all I did was ask these open-ended questions. And some people, I mean, I had one guy who was perfect. He told me, Jesse, could you cut the Jedi bullshit and just tell me what to do? I was like, oh, because sometimes people, I mean, the open-ended questions, it's challenging, it's brain twisting. And sometimes they're just not there yet. And that's okay. Then I'll back off and I'll say, well, from my perspective, it feels like there's a few options here. Here are the options I think you're saying. What do you think? And then that helps kind of get them closer to making their decision. And again, I keep going back further and further based on where they're at and how much bandwidth they have to think about things. And if they just don't have the experience and the knowledge base, I just tell them what to do. Here's what you should do. And then let's circle back. It's like teaching a kid to tie their shoes. You don't ask them open-ended questions until they figure out how to tie their shoes. You'll never get there.
Hold here.
You do.
Turn.
Yes. You
Tight.
do it for them.
Yep.
And then after you do it for them, you do it with them. And then after you do it with them, they do it under your supervision. And after that, you let them roll. And so that sums up my coaching style today. I'm pretty sure it'll evolve. I hope it will. But that's how I approach it.
I like that. The shoe tie analogy is very good. Yeah, in the book, Alan did ask Sam's permission to tell him a story. He told one of my most favorite stories of all time.
Yeah.
100% stolen from Stephen Covey, Joe and Keon. I'm watching 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Habit number 7. Jesse, you know what it is. Sharpen
the saw.
That's right.
Yep. And I wonder, you know what? I don't wonder, because these guys are just forward thinking. Joe and Keon are. They placed the 7th habit in chapter 7.
I know, that gets a bell. I mean, all day long. That was well done.
Yeah. I'm telling you, they just know. The Jedi.
We'll interrogate Joe and see, if it's him or Keon.
We could ask him that on the next chapter. Like, tell us exactly your thinking behind including the 7th habit, exactly where you put it.
On chapter 7. Let's see, does it show up at the start of a page that ends in 147 too?
Oh, no, it's 152.
Oh.
There's the formula they used, a mathematical formula that generated 152 to be the ideal spot for it.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
I love that, man. Speaking of formulas, are you going to come back to PPC? What's the formula for PPC, Jesse?
PPC, it is the amount of planned activities completed divided by the amount of activities planned. Did I get that backwards?
No, you got it right. Times 100 to give you a percentage.
Yeah, times 100 gives you the percent.
It's perfect.
Yeah. It's simple math. And you could just, for real, man, you could just let it be that easy. But then that's one big complicated thing that people like to play with. The next enormously complicated thing that's really not is the activity complete, yes or no?
Oh, yeah. That's like in that's not specific just to construction being so problematic. In Agile world, in Scrum in particular, this was something that was a challenge since the 90s when Jeff was first putting this together. They even had to give it a special phrasing. In Scrum, they call it the definition of done, set by the team. Yeah. And there's a whole ethos around how do people decide? And I've heard people say and they don't say it in a way that it's a question. They say it in a way that it's a complaint. And it's typically somebody who's of the project manager persuasion. And they're like, you mean you're just going to let people decide when something's done? I'm like, let people I'm like, man, that just sounds so, that whole, and we say it's binary. It's either done or it's not done. Half done is not done. 60% complete is not complete. Work in progress is not completed work. It's still happening. It's done, I always say, Jesse, when the next person can get onto it and complete it all the way. Done. The only time I'll accept done is when the owner has the keys to the building and it's theirs and we're not there. Mm-hmm. Or the roadway. In Texas, where everything seems to be going tollway, I guess it's done when the toll transponder takes my money and I keep on driving.
Then you're good. I agree. And I get to see so many people spend or waste so much energy around playing with the formula and playing with yes and no. It's almost like,
hold on a second. I got to put my book down for a second. We got to touch this for a second. You just triggered me. So playing with the formula, ladies and gentlemen, listen close. Here's Jesse. Can I tell a story?
Let's please. Felipe.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Jesse. Story time with Felipe. There are many good intentioned owners out there. I love you owners that have this intention that you want to encourage this type of collaboration on your projects. However, owners, when you incentivize a certain PPC number in your contract and well-intentioned general contractors, let me put you in on this too. Those that have front ends or exhibits to your contracts with the trade partners, when you set a PPC rate on a team, and incentivize it with goals, do not be surprised that people are going to gameplay and manipulate that formula. If you're trying to incentivize collaboration, just ask for it. Just ask for it. Just say, let's collaboratively plan and schedule. Don't put in a PPC percentage in a contract and then give people financial incentives to hit that. Jesse, I cannot tell you that I know of a single project that has that requirement where people are not playing with that formula inappropriately. And I've even asked people, how do you calculate PPC? And I found, Jesse, that if their job has it in the contract, like magic, they tell me that the formula is so complicated, it's in a spreadsheet to track. And versus a job where it's not in the contract, I can ask anybody, any trade partner that's in there on a job that's actually tracking it, and they can tell me, just like you told me now, effortlessly. What is the difference in that? That just, people.
Yes.
People.
Yes. So I have witnessed and even played that game. It wasn't particularly with PPC. I guess it was specifically for stuff, right? And so the incentive was if you had a particular percent PPC, like if you were above 75% for all, as a superintendent, as a trade partner, if you're above 75% for X amount of man hours quarterly, you could win the productivity championship for that quarter, which was like $1,000, $2,000 check.
Okay.
Can you guess what happened, Felipe?
Yeah, I can guess what happened. You won that check every time.
I didn't.
Okay.
I was like, I'm going to do this. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, this is going to, I did it for like a week or two. I was like, wait, why am I got shit to do. I ain't got time to be playing around with all these numbers. Hell with that. I'm going to go get work done. Let me go put work in place. Maybe that'll benefit us. But we had a bunch of people that started playing with the numbers. And all of a sudden, their production rates were like 85, 90, 95. Like they were killing it. So they got their check. They got a little plaque, another quarter, check, plaque.
Okay.
And then they hit the wall. All of a sudden, they were upping their percent complete. It's 90.1%, 90.2%, 90.3% for 6 weeks. So, because people just looking at this digital readout that was manipulated by people, that was driven by the incentivization of it, they manipulated the game.
Yep.
And so they thought we're kicking butt, we're winning, and found out, no, you're not. You spent 90% of your budget and you still have 40% of the work to go. And so it was a horrible disaster, and it helped me really understand the danger of jacking around with the number. And so here's another question. Is it possible to get 100% PPC and be behind schedule and have no flow?
Yes.
Okay. Second question.
Jesse, you go to the head of the class. Yes, it's possible.
Second question. Is it possible to have 0% PPC and have flow and be ahead of schedule?
Yes, it is, Jesse. Now to bring it to life for people, remember the formula Jesse gave you. For those of you that didn't write it down because you're not taking notes, like Jesse told you in the show notes, chapter 1, you might want to take some notes on this.
Thank you.
If you finish ahead of schedule or you change because of conditions change, your PPC actually goes down. Let's say I'm on a 5-day weekly work plan and I have just a simple 10 activities plan just for easy math. If I get halfway through that week and some site condition changes where we have to resequence the work, we don't finish it. We might resequence in a way that jumps us into the next week's work. The PPC for that week is going to be less than 50%. If I got through all of Wednesday's activities and then I don't do Thursday and Friday's activities, that's possible. But we could be, like to Jesse's point, we could actually be jumping ahead of schedule because we improved the flow. So your PPC is going to temporarily dip down because you're in a replanning. On the flip side, you could have a terrible phase pool, maybe a key trade for whatever reason, or somebody on the GC crew, just to keep it to anybody, doesn't have input during the phase pool or the reverse phase planning, whatever you want to call it, before you get to the weekly look ahead, and you get a bad sequence. And you don't know that until you go to the weekly planning and you start working, and you work for an entire week and your PPC is 100%, but you did the wrong stuff. And then you come to find out that you didn't prep for this like air handler that can't fit through a single doorway. Oh, snap. How many times does that happen where we can't get equipment through openings? Mm-hmm. We had 100% PPC, but now I can't install the next piece of work because of a coordination gap, because we didn't do a better phase pull plan, because we didn't understand our milestones with long lead items. All of that was because of the root cause is bad flow. So bad flow can allow you to hit 100% PPC, but do the wrong thing quickly. Yep. So focus on flow, people. Stop playing games.
And I'll add for the trade partners, there is tremendous value in being specific and measurable in your tasks. And so I'll give you an example of that.
Jesse, tell me a story.
I'm going to tell you.
Bring it to life for me.
Damn it. So when I was on the trade partner side, I was the LPS champion, if you will, for the business unit. And so I took it very seriously and coached our people. And there's a progression, kind of like the shoe tying story or scenario. When I introduce tradesmen to the weekly work plan, usually what I get in the activity is install duct, install pipe. And so, of course, they're going to hit 100% PPC, because all you really have to do is install one piece of duct and you've achieved the goal.
That's right.
Now, specific and measurable is different, because specific is I'm going to install the medium pressure duct on quad A, second floor. Measurable, I am going to install 680 feet of that. And so now I can measure, did I achieve the target? And it serves you better, but in terms of problem solving, right? So we're going to get to that. But PPC is not, you're not finished. If all you did was do the number, all you did was divide, you are not done. The next piece, which our homeboy Adam Hoots, who is very passionate about, and I agree with them, he's worried about the percent incomplete, because we need to do some problem solving. Whatever didn't get completed as planned, we need to dive deeper into it to understand what kept it from being finished. And being specific and measurable in the description of the activity enhances the problem solving effort. So percentages, that's a little bit better than just a general statement. But where are you doing it and how much do you intend to do is what we're looking for. You get to that level, you're going to start putting money in your pocket, baby.
And I think the measurement that I just heard, this is the first time I ever heard it too, Jesse. Can you believe all these years doing it? A decade of LPS, and only today from Adam told me PPI, Felipe. I was like, PPI, percent plan incomplete. I was like, it's just 1 minus the percentage.
It's there. It's there.
Already. I tell people, Jesse, this, like when I'm first introducing a team to PPC, I say, you can do the math to get the percentage, but it's even more powerful to show your work. Show the numerator and the denominator so that you can see from week to week, are we getting more work in place or less? And if we use that discipline that Jesse's just kind of jumped over, get those tags to be descriptive. There's a reason why Jesse wants that to be descriptive, and I want it also. We want to see, how are you engaging with the interconnection of the next person? How's that handoff? If you just say install duct, I have no idea how you're handing off to anyone, and I will, as a facilitator, grill you. But don't worry, it's going to be pleasant. You're going to love being asked questions by me. Where's that duct going? What floor is it in? From what room to what room? From what grid line to what grid line? How are you going to get it in the building? Who's going to be in the room after you? These are all just some of the types of questions that I will be 20 questioning you, and you will learn very quickly to fill out your tags appropriately. And people listening, like, it's chapter 7 for a reason. You don't start with PPC.
Nailed it. You do not start with PPC. But we're driven, right? It's not a grade. You said it earlier this morning.
I did.
It's not a letter grade, but we are conditioned to interact with it as a letter grade. And naturally, because we're competitive type A people in the industry, or maybe there's just a few of type A.
No, I think it's heavy type A. Super heavy. Right here, this phone call. Look at us talking over each other.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jesse.
We naturally go to, where's the scoreboard? What's the score? If we don't have a scoreboard, we don't really care. Generally speaking, right? In our industry, that's what we need. Are we winning? I need a schedule, scoreboard. I need PPC, scoreboard.
I need a budget, scoreboard.
Let's talk about the culture.
How do you measure that?
No scoreboard for that. I don't care about the most important thing. So obviously we got to get better at coming up with some scoreboards for the culture on the project. And I think Jennifer Lacey's probably got a lead on the rest of us as to what metrics or what things are indicating of a fantastic culture. But I'm getting off base there.
No, you're good, man. There are definitely other things to measure besides PPC, and some of the things like what Jennifer's doing at her company and what Juan's doing at his company. And even in my company, we're on IPD jobs, integrated project delivery. You got to measure team health. Yes. Team health is more important than your PPC. If you have to sacrifice, because there's only so much time in the day, it is more important to understand how are people feeling? How are people working? That is a forward predictor of how the team is going to do, whereas PPC is a dashboard, rear view mirror metric of what happened in the past. Does not predict the future. Yesterday's PPC does not tell me anything about tomorrow's PPC.
Right. And now we're talking about lead and lag indicators.
Yes.
PPC is a lagging indicator.
Thank you, Jesse. I'm ESL and I couldn't remember that word.
Yep.
Gracias, Jesse.
You got it, right? It's leading and lagging indicators. Leading indicator, team code, team health. Lagging indicator, PPC. You got poor team health, things ain't going to be fun. Do something about that.
Fix that first. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about PPC yet.
No, get that. Yes. My philosophy in coaching and supporting folks with the last planner system is if your team environment is jacked up, we ain't talking about no last planner stuff yet. Let's get this team thing fixed first. And often, maybe less often than maybe 5 years ago, but often they're kind of like, why are you worried about that? That's not your job. I'm like, well, you'll understand that it is absolutely my job to ensure that this environment is solid before we start playing around with this other stuff. Because we can play around with this other stuff all day long and it ain't going to help nobody. All it's going to do is add burden to your day if we're not functioning as a team.
That's right. And we say the same thing. Scrum has a metric as well for advanced teams called velocity. And I next to never introduce velocity to someone coming at it at the first time. I usually say, like, when you get tired or when you feel like you've mastered what you've been put in front of you to do something new and you raise your hand and come back to me, we'll talk about velocity in the future. Yes, I have the same approach.
How often do people want that velocity concept right out of the gate?
Oh, like 8 out of 10 times. Because like what you said, Jesse, they want to measure. If you've ever, ladies and gentlemen, you ever watched a sports game? I myself am a Cubs fan, but as a child, I used to watch a lot of football. And there's something weird happened, Jesse. One time when I was a kid, I won't say how old I was. I'll just say when I was a kid, I put some money on a game. When I was gambling on the game, it was the most exciting football game I'd ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I remember being into football. I was thinking like, wow, that game was like, something was like magical about that game. And it's because I won a ton of money. Thank you, Kansas City, back in the day. Put some pizza money in my pocket. But it's that same phenomenon. Like, we get more emotionally invested when we have some skin in the game. We have something riding on it. And I think a lot of the people in projects, Jesse, especially those that are looking for how do I measure, if I'm going to do something, like they just want to know that they're doing it well or not.
Yes.
So I think that's a part of it. It's not always malicious. Like it's not always that project manager that just wants to beat his team down with the stick or her team. Because there've been some mean female project managers as well. 100%.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's not always that. Sometimes they just want to know how they're doing. And like Jesse said, if the people are doing well emotionally, physically, they're in a good environment, then you can add on these extra things, because it is doing PPC is an extra thing to do.
It is. It is. And so that's a perfect segue into my problem or appreciation for the situation around PPC. Too many people want to start with it. We discussed that. But I've seen many, many teams practicing Last Planner, learning how to get good at it, and they get the number and they stop at the number. And they wonder what's the value of PPC and tracking the constraints and, categorizing it. Why would I do this? And then they go to the trades and they say, all right, this is y'all's PPC, and nothing gets better. Like it doesn't get better. And they're wondering, like, why? It's like, well, because you haven't finished. You haven't closed the loop. PPC, you're not finished. Now, to Adam Hoots' passion, let's start looking at the incomplete items. And let's dive into that. We track the reasons for variance so that we can, again, like you said earlier, there's only so many hours in the day.
Right.
So we're going to track those things so that we can feed it into a Pareto chart so we can see visually what is kicking us in the face the most often, with the highest frequency. And let's deploy some problem-solving efforts on that one. Because if I can bring that one down, it's going to have the biggest impact overall. So find the PPC, look at the things that didn't get done, and then do some research. Go out. Please don't slap me. But go to the Gemba, right? Go to where the freaking work is happening and where the breakdown exists. Don't ask people in the trailer, why didn't you get done? Why? Go see for yourself. Go find out what the hell the breakdown is and deploy some countermeasures against that breakdown. Guess what? You do that, your PPC starts going up.
That's
but
right.
If all you do is get the stupid number and stop at the stupid number, why the hell did you do the rest of this stuff? Get to the number and then let that be a trigger to be selective about the problem you're going to go after, about the things that weren't complete, and do some problem solving around that. When you start doing that, you're starting to close the loop and actually build the cycle, which is a wheel, which is momentum, baby. And then
That's
you
right.
get the flow,
Close the loop. Yeah, absolutely.
Close it, baby.
And I say people, like in Jesse's example, when you get that PPC and you come share with the trades, it's a team's PPC, not any one individual trade. I'm sorry, software companies that can track it per trade. That is an abomination. And that doesn't mean squat, because no trade is out there independent. They are all interconnected. And just because the math can come out and give you independent PPC, it doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless. It's a team's PPC. It's the project's PPC. And like Jesse said, it takes us longer to explain, well, how to go investigate it than to go investigate it.
Yep.
Right? I mean, Jesse, we can walk out there on a team that's maybe even hitting like 70% PPC, and we'll look at their variances, and we might see like three variances popping. Like they might have said, and we might be dropping in, and they're like, oh, this is poor planning. This trade's overcommitting. And we go out there and we walk it. We know in 10 seconds it wasn't overcommitting.
Right.
It's almost never overcommitting. Yep. Now, in the design, that's a totally different story. When we're talking about in construction, knowledge work, overcommitting tends to happen quite a bit. So I just want to preference that, because it's hard to predict some of those things, those sparks of the mind. But in the physical world, it's easy to see what's going on, and it's often other things. Like they put a list here. I'm on page 157, and they got some items here for variance on the PPC. The top one being weather. I think that's a no-brainer. Everybody understands how weather could be an impact. So that's nothing to even worry about. The next one is manpower. Now, this one, Jesse, I find a little suspect. Like, how often is manpower showing up in the Pareto? And the Pareto chart is just taking, like, if I just had weather and manpower as the only things affecting, and I just count how many times did we miss an activity, and that activity was due to weather, I would count 1 for weather. And if I had 10 activities and we had, a snowstorm in San Antonio, like we did this year, and I couldn't work for a couple weeks, I would have like all of these weather impacts talent. I don't even need to Pareto it. That snowstorm was so, I know that derailed a whole bunch of projects.
Oh boy.
Do people even have shovels in South Texas? I don't even think they probably do.
No, it was, we were not prepared for that.
Yeah. And then they've got machinery. Yeah. Machinery can absolutely break down and impact. Design, that's code for all kinds of things. There could be, that design needs to be unpacked a little bit, because that could be miscoordination. It could be like not having the right submittal. I mean, there's so many things that design blanket. I would ask for a little more clarity on that design thing. That's too vague for me. How about you, Jesse?
I'm with you. I think design, there's buckets, right? And I think there's an appropriate we need to find the appropriate degree of definition, because for me, almost all the time, I get too granular, so much so that in order to gather the data, it's going to take an enormous amount of time. And that's not valuable. We don't need people freaking gathering data. We need people building. And so bringing it back to what is the appropriate level design? What does that mean? Is it information? Was it processing of the approval? There's so much stuff that we could throw in the design bucket. I'm with you 100% to break that out. I mean, what I've seen in my career is around like a standard set of constraints is around the between 13 and 15 count.
Before you take action on it?
What do you mean?
You said the 14 or 15th mark.
Oh, no. So like, for example, right here, we're seeing 7 bullet points.
Yes.
About what could be impacting our work. What I've seen as a standard is there's a list of between 13 and 15 bullet points, standard constraints.
Roger that.
Or reasons for variance that impact the work. And the purpose behind that was for the additional granularity, for like poor scheduling or design. Come on, poor scheduling, bro. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the trade partners planning?
Yeah.
Are we talking, right? What are we talking about? Let's get specific.
No, I've seen the same thing. Like in our checklist for Last Punter System, Jesse, has 14 items on said checklist on page 1.
On the top left-hand corner.
It's actually on the middle, Jesse. At the center, 8 inches from the bottom. You'll find it in the section that's noted a variance.
Yes.
Poor Nate.
Yep.
I feel you, Nate. And Nate, he's read this book, by the way. He loves this book. He said when he read this book, he was so excited. He's a superintendent that he wanted to make this required reading material for everybody. I said, whoa. How about you buy a couple and give out some gifts? Yes. Now that you're making that superintendent coin, you can buy a couple of books and give some to a friend.
Yep. Plant some seeds. Man, I will tell you, like, I've seen that in my region, Denver, Kansas City, Nebraska, Texas. I've seen this book, the Lean Builder book, catch fire. Like, introduce it to somebody and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. They make it so simple. We need to buy, we're going to do a study action team. And I'm like, yeah, like, awesome. My point is, it's a fantastic resource. So anybody that's listening and curious, my recommendation, go buy the damn book and get it on audio so that you can listen to it every day, driving back and forth to work, and you can read the book and test and make notes about your experiments, because it really can be this simple. Like, that is the thing I appreciate the most about this book, is it demystifies all the other crap. Right? There's no spreadsheets in here and links and bullshit. It's just let's go achieve flow. straight up, let's go put work in place.
I do love that it has no spreadsheets. I know I could hear Jason and Spencer like, what's wrong with spreadsheets?
Oh, zing! There isn't. There's no Power BI. There's no, let's plan this. Let's talk. Let's make some commitments and let's go get some damn work in place. Boom. It can be that easy. It really can. Now, there are jobs that are pretty damn complex and have very sophisticated systems and all kinds of moving parts. And in that case, then I maybe would say, let's introduce some technology to help manage that. But it's not always going to make it better. I guess that's the point. If the technology doesn't serve the process and the people, don't freaking use it.
And I want to just say too, people, I've seen teams that don't track PPC. I will go in and look at their board and I'll calculate it like on a little Post-it note that I just keep to myself. And I'll kind of mark how they're doing over time. So if you know how to calculate PPC, you can absolutely figure it out on your own. And then I use that to go see something special, something particular. I'll go look at variances. And one of the people, Jesse, who's been doing this for a long time, is a structural engineer in California. Shout out to Bueller and Bueller that has been after pull planning and design, last planner system design for over 20 years. They will take the sticky note, Jesse, fold it up halfway, and they'll write the variance right on the back of the sticky. And then so when you stand back on their board, you'll see these half-folded Post-its, and you'll see variance visually, see it. There's no spreadsheet, man. It's just right there in your face, and they just write it right on there. It just takes a second. And one of the things that they taught me, shout out to Ron. Ron taught Felipe. Ron said, you just turn around and you say out loud what the variance is so that everybody on the team can hear it and everybody learns like what's getting in our way together rather than a separate exercise. So I just love that. Thank you, Ron. That's a gift.
That's gold, baby. For all the listeners out there, that's gold. And so I'm going to tell another story, if I may, Felipe.
Please.
On page 159, I guess the first full paragraph, he talks about what I've noticed from our trade partners is the squeaky wheel with the most data gets the oil. And when I read that, it took me back to a situation on a project. It was a pretty large project. And the GC was not doing last planner system. Okay. It was just the mechanical contractor, and we recruited the electrician because MEP, we've got some leverage. And actually, we were kind of kicking each other's face, and we said, oh, this hurts. Let's play nice together, and it'll hurt less.
Yeah, let's kick the GC. Don't kick each other.
Right. Let's figure out how to get this damn job done. And so I was responsible for manpower, and this project had way more manpower than they theoretically should have had. And so I had to go figure out, like, why is this happening? And so I started, and they were doing it, right? Our team was doing the last planner system, and their PPC was about 40 to 50.
Okay.
And I said, okay, awesome. Like, that's kind of what I figured. What's the main contributor? And it was prerequisite tasks. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, okay. So let me make sure you're not just finger pointing. And like you said earlier, let me go out. I got my list of all the weekly work plan and the things that have been kicking us like we couldn't complete. Let me go see what's going on. And about 70% of the time, it was prerequisite tasks. The tile wasn't grouted, the countertop was, and we're in finishes, right? So a gazillion loose ends all over the world.
Oh, man.
GC's pushing pressure. Hurry, you need more people. What's that?
I said, keep going, man. I was flashing back like, I know that job too well, Jesse.
Right?
You just said incomplete tile. Incomplete tile in my mind. I flashed like 25 different projects, 25 different rooms, 1,000 different examples, a 6,000 item punch list. I'm triggered, Jesse. Keep going.
You clearly were walking this job with me, Felipe, because you just described it to a T. All ceiling tile, like everything.
Yeah, Mystic ceiling tiles, flags everywhere.
Oh, even better, kitchen equipment, mechanical room, like BAS, everything, loose ends everywhere. And so I came back to the team, and the purpose of this story is so that trade partners, again, even if the general contractor is not applying it, this could change your world. So I came back, talked to our project manager, said, hey, bro, like here, I see all the things that aren't complete. And this is my 2-hour walk of constraints, like very specific, not the general bucket.
Right.
It is this scope of work needs to be complete to free this work up. And so I went down that list with them. And he's like, yeah, I have that list. I said, oh, well, let me see it. Dude, he had a spreadsheet. And I was like, okay, this is good. Like this is good information. What are you doing with the spreadsheet? What do you mean? Like, so you're creating it, like you have very actionable information.
You're tracking it.
But what are you doing with it? Well, man, just in case we go to litigation. I'm like, why the hell? Whoa, why don't you like let it make it a tool right now, man? Jeez. Yeah. And please, here is the assignment. Send that constraint log to the GC so that they can understand, like they are going to help us make ready. They don't know what's blocking us. Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. And they don't know. You send them that list and they will know where to apply the pressure. He didn't do it for 2 weeks. Things kept getting worse. And it got to the point where I said, okay,
Jesse.
you know what?
How is that GC going to receive it? Not with a smile and an open hand.
You know it. You know it. So I finally said, okay, look, here's the deal. I'm cutting your manpower. I'm taking 50% of your plumbers and 60% of the sheet metal guys next week, period. I know this is going to help you because if I don't apply any pain, you're just going to keep sitting on that damn list. So he sent the list. Yes, the GC flipped. How dare you call us a constraint? This is bullshit. You're just finger pointing. Emails flew like the sky was falling down.
Yep.
And I said, okay, good. He said, what do you mean good? I said, did you notice that they got that stuff done for us? And we're actually producing? Oh, yeah. I said, okay, now here, you want to settle I like conflict, so I would have just left it the way it was. I said, do you want it to be nicer? He's like, yes, dude, like this is not fun. Like we're fighting all the time. I said, okay, good. You see up there on the header of that file where it says constraint log? Delete it and type in make ready needs and send it to him. I swear, he made that change. Totally different conversation. Same problem, different conversation. The cut in the manpower didn't hurt them. I was actually able to get more manpower off the job because now everybody knew what was ready to be executed. And because everybody knew clearly what wasn't ready to be executed, the conversation about manpower was a non-conversation because we all knew exactly where we stood. So trade partners, you can do it. And so the little constraint log story I'm talking about is very similar to the PPC. You got the information. If you ain't doing anything with it, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, man. You got to do something. Share that information so that you can change the damn situation for everybody.
I love that. And trade partners, you need to recognize that even though lawyers have a perception of making a lot of money, they actually charge by the hour. So just think of a lawyer as being on T&M forever. And trade partners, that T&M lawyer is going to likely come out of your pocket. Because every general contractor I know, Jesse, and we know at least two, they have clauses in their subcontract agreements that are going to hold you to pay some of those legal fees. So don't think that you're going to throw it over the fence and your company's going to be free and clear. You are mistaken.
You're going to be sharing in that bad boy.
It's way better to share the bad news early than to not. Don't sit on it. Young PMs out there, take Jesse's warning. Change the title of the log and get it sent over. That's beautiful.
You like that?
I
That's
love
a little
that.
bit of my ninja lean, baby.
Make ready work.
Yeah, make ready. Make ready.
Make ready. Make ready.
We were friends. We were friends. Goofballs. Now, page 162, we were talking about incentivizing PPC and how that's a risky or even maybe just avoid that.
Danger.
Now, I am going to share this nugget that I got from my really good friend, Sean Moran, who's also a lean addict.
Shout out to Sean.
Shout out Sean. Incentive program for PPC. Here it is. It was breakfast tacos. So if at the end of the week, they measured PPC, and if PPC was between 60 and 70, the team got donuts. If the PPC was between 70 and 80, the team got tacos, like bean and cheese, potato and egg, non-meat tacos.
I like how you said bean and cheese. Now that we've corrected Joe,
yes,
we're staying consistent.
Cheese.
Bean and cheese, Joe. I could imagine Keon's like, I don't make that mistake, Joe.
Oh, that's good stuff. And then if they hit over 80%, it's meat tacos, carne guisada, barbacoa, right? Bacon and egg.
I thought you were going to say if they get close to 100, they're going to get salads.
Yeah. If you hit 100, you get a salad.
I'm just messing with you.
But the powerful thing here is they celebrated that as a team. This is our PPC. And because we all contributed to this degree, this is how we're going to celebrate. That is a proper incentive program for PPC. What do you think?
I totally agree. And GC's, I mean, because he's a GC.
Yes.
You got that cash. Like, it's easy to, I mean, think about that. If you're hitting PPC, as I said it earlier this morning on the live stream, Jesse, I said, if your PPC is over 60%, in my experience, if you've done phase planning and milestones, you've had those connected conversations through, you will see gains on your CPM schedule at north of 60% all day long. You're going to make up time in the schedule. So think about that. GCs, do the math. How much are you burning per day with your staff on your day burn rate? It's thousands of dollars. And it's the same crews with high labor counts. It could be tens of thousands, could be hundreds of thousands, and on some jobs, millions. So if you can take days off the board where work is in place correct without a punch list, that's money in your pocket. That food is like the best money you ever spent.
Exactly. It's so it is a pretty damn valuable investment. Almost priceless. Some tacos, baby.
I was with the team, Jesse. I mean, you're just jogging my memory. And we did some barbacoa nachos. That was like the specialty where we were. And so we hooked it up. And they, magically, they took 2 weeks off the schedule. I was like, I'll throw down for some barbacoa nachos.
Oh, dude.
That's a fun expense report, by the way. And you're like, oh, yeah, this meal is we made up 2 weeks in the schedule. Nobody's going to turn that down. That takes us to the end of the story right there, Jesse.
It does.
We're at the end. Chapter 7 is behind us. We have Joe coming on. Listeners, Jesse and I would love to hear what you took away from this session in the comments. And if you've been following along with us thus far, you already know that Jesse and I both prefer to see comments in LinkedIn when we post, but we also would love to see comments, just general comments on whatever podcast player you're hitting this up on, or if you're following along on YouTube, drop a comment on YouTube. Hello. We'll respond. And on our beautiful websites.
Oh, yeah. We got some nice websites, man. And they're set up to take in your feedback because that is pretty darn valuable to us. Like, rather, it's the most valuable thing. If we ain't serving you, we need to know so we can adjust. We want to bring some value to you. And another thing you can do is if you're getting some good insight, if some of the stuff that's coming out of our mouth is helpful to you, share it with a friend, because I know people out there that are miserable and kicking the dog every time they go home. And if they can practice some of these things, that dog will have fewer bruises.
Yes. Don't kick your dogs, people. It's just a job. Remember that nostalgia, 2 years from now, that job where you're kicking that dog, you're going to remember that with so much, like a smile on your face. You'll be like, that was such a great job. We don't make jobs like that anymore. When your poor dog's got a limp now.
The dog say, bullshit. It's always been like this. Oh, that was good shit. That was good.
All right, so leave a comment.
Yeah. So I think now I'm flashbacking to the miserable things I did because of miserable projects.
Yeah, nostalgic. You're like, man, that job was so good. No, it wasn't. It wasn't
that good.
No. No.
But thank you all for the YouTubers and the podcast listeners, everybody out there that's taking the time to sit with us and listen and watch and comment and share. We would not be doing this without you. It's your energy and your openness that gets me through the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, folks, that wraps us up for Calabo session number 7. I know we're sad. It's the end of the road for the Lean Builder, except we've got one more episode, and we actually got to spend about an hour with Mr. Joe and Keon, and that episode is going to be hitting next week. We're releasing Out of Cycle just so we can get it to you hot off the press. And I want to give a shout out to Miss Kirby Coates, longtime L&M family member. Kirby sent me this message. She may not be excited that I'm sharing it with, but she's awesome people. So here it goes. Kirby so lovingly lets us know that she needs this whole episode written on motivational flashcards or something. I sent it to my mentee as well. She said, it's like they are speaking directly to me. Thank you, Kirby, and to the rest of the L&M family out there. Love y'all chingos. You add a special flavor and a special color to my life. And Renee will be back soon. Summer's almost up, meaning the overtime will come to an end very soon, I hope. Please keep bringing the feedback. Keep making me smile. Keep hitting the likes on the YouTube. You know, this experience has exceeded my expectations, and it is 100% because of you. Thank you for committing the time on your drive, on your workout, when you're doing chores around the house, when you're sneaking in to listen during work. All of that stuff is extremely meaningful to me. Thank you for letting me into your life, and we're going to keep the episodes coming, baby. Man, you are one dedicated listener, sticking with us all the way through to the very, very end. Please know that this podcast dies without you, and we invite you to share how the episode's impacting you, along with your thoughts, questions, and suggestions. You've been gracious with your time, so we added social media links in the show notes to make it super easy for you to connect with us. Be kind to yourself, stay cool, and we'll talk at you next time.